Have you got an interview coming up? Well, I'm going to let you know the red flags that you should absolutely look for that might tell you that this isn't actually the job for you. This is Productivity Ace. Let's get it done. There's a lot of advice for interviewers as to how to pick and recognise that great candidate. But it should always be remembered that an interview is really very much a two-way process. There's loads of responsibility for you as a candidate to be aware and to detect the signs that this is also the right job for you in your career. And your interviewer will give you lots of information that you can use to decide, much of it involuntary. In fact, there are so many red flags that you can look out for that will act as really big warning signs that this might not be a role you should take. We'll take a look at 5 of them in this video. And this is such a big subject that you'll certainly see a second video on this subject, so subscribe and hit the bell notification so you know when it drops. So red flag number 1. The interviewer is emotional and negative. Occasionally you'll find an interviewer that displays many negative behaviours and opinions about the people at the company. Maybe they're bad-mouthing their own manager or a co-worker. You might even see a situation where the interviewer is extremely critical or negative about the person that you're going to be replacing. I'm so glad you've applied for this. That other person sucked. I've heard that before. I've even heard an interviewer mention that they're looking to bring somebody in so that they can sack somebody else who doesn't even know that their job is under threat. Unbelievable, but true. So always look for an interviewer displaying those super negative opinions on their own people, and if they're going off on rants about their own people, then it's a sure sign that this person might not be the type of character that you want to work for. If they're saying that about their own people, it's likely they'll say the same about you one day. You get asked illegal or suspect questions. There are many questions that interviews are simply not allowed to ask, whether they want you to or not. Anything to do with race, sexual orientation, family history, health, all totally off limits. If you get asked about these topics, then you certainly shouldn't feel pressure to answer, and the interviewer shouldn't be asking you them in the first place. If you pass on the question and get probed more about them or pushed to answer, then it's a very bad sign, and my recommendation would be to terminate the interview immediately. And also report the situation to the company's HR department. Illegal questions still get asked. And then there's another subset of questions that, while not illegal, are most certainly not things that should be asked. Politics, personal opinions on people or companies, plans for families or children, aspects of personal life and such like. Women still regularly get asked about their plans for children, and this isn't something that should be tolerated. So any illegal or suspect questions are a really bad sign that this company and interviewer have some seriously bad standards, which could be indicative of deeper issues. And before the next red flag, I've got a course all about mastering the interview process from a candidate's perspective. It's already helped lots of people land their dream job, so check the link in the description. You can even take it for free. You need to provide basic equipment yourself. We've seen this in some high-profile companies in the airline sector. Employees are regularly expected to provide their own equipment for performing their job. That can range from office supplies to required dress and uniforms and much more. If a company isn't prepared to invest in the required equipment to allow their people to easily get off to a good start, that's a pretty bad sign that you won't get the other required investment needed to make your job easier to perform and your business succeed. Engaged and committed employees regularly incur expenses out of their own pocket, and often voluntarily. But for a company to expect it or demand it right out of the gate is not cool. If you're being asked to do that, then think carefully about whether this company is right for you. The job role doesn't match the job description. In this video up here, I talk about the importance of the interviewer needing to immediately clarify that they're on exactly the same page as the candidate when it comes to understanding the role that is on offer. Indeed, in my opinion, it's the first thing that should be discussed in any interview. You'd be amazed by how many times a candidate turns up for an interview thinking they're applying for one thing when the reality is the job is completely different. Sometimes, in fact, most of the time, this is a genuine error caused by poor recruitment processes, maybe involving third parties, where the job description is modified or translated or changed in some way and ends up not being an accurate reflection of the brief that was originally submitted. So as a candidate, if you discover early that the job you're applying for in your head isn't what's being described to you, then pay close attention. It doesn't necessarily mean the job isn't a good fit for you, but it certainly requires you to ask more clarifying questions and to get a bit more information. Then, once you both know you're on the same page, you can have a better and deeper discussion. The pay isn't accurate. More and more these days, you'll see companies that want to bring experienced and talented people, but simply don't want to pay for the privilege. The facts of the matter are that experience and real skill costs money. Yet I see so many companies that want the best people at a bargain price. 10 years experience in the financial sector, that's going to cost you. Certification in technologies, processes and applications, you're going to have to pay for that. So always make sure that when you're applying for jobs, don't shortchange yourself and you're able to detect when a company is trying to get great expertise on the cheap. Not only will this be demotivating, as you'll know you're not being paid market rate, but it's a sign that the company might want to penny pinch in other areas as well. Will you get the funding you need to do your job well? Will the team in the business area be invested in? Will the team and people be expanded and backed with headcount funding? It's a worry if salaries aren't at market rate. These days I can understand the needs of businesses to keep costs under control and ensure that they don't waste money, but the area of people is one that they really shouldn't be scrimped on. There are many other inefficiencies that can be ironed out to make the cost savings, and getting cheap on your people isn't a good sign that the company is one that can give you the backing that you need to be great. Have you subscribed to this channel yet? Go on, only takes a second, give it a click. The best interviews are very much two-way experiences. In some situations, it's felt like a candidate has been interviewing me, such has been the imagination and variety of the questions I've been asked. And that's great for me as an interviewer. I always want the candidate to be as engaged and connected as possible, so it's always welcomed. But as a candidate, make sure that you're getting as much as you can out of the interview, as well as the interviewer. And make doubly sure that you're looking for the red flags that might indicate to you that this is a role you should be concerned about. There's nothing worse than taking a job and then very quickly realizing that it's not for you.